We've had about a month of Mass Effect Andromeda, so I think it's a good time to ramble on about my thoughts towards the state of multiplayer, thoughts on Bioware's communication and actions so far, and I guess my opinion on how successful or not the multiplayer has been to date. Now, if you've been subscribed to me for any considerable amount of time, you'll probably know that I have absolutely no loyalties to Bioware or EA, and I think I've always been fairly neutral towards them as a company and as game developers, so there's no hidden agendas here to boost sales of the game or to drive people away from it. And while I'm sure that's not going to stop some people from claiming otherwise, I hope you do take this into account when listening to what I actually have to say here. So, a question I see often posted on the forums is, what are the developers doing, or why haven't they said anything about the next patch, or some variation thereof? And the responses to said threads are usually somewhere along the lines of, oh well, they've already got your money, so they don't care about the game anymore, or they are incompetent, or, again, some variation of that. And it kind of makes me laugh, because if anybody actually looks at EA's financial releases that they do every quarter, they would realise that an enormous chunk of their total net revenue actually comes from post-launch sales, so DLC, microtransactions, all that sort of good stuff that the gaming community loves. I'll put this in the description for anybody who actually wants to have a look at those financial reports, but they're there. It's a very real thing. So, if we're talking about money, then no, it's far more profitable for Bioware to have produced a successful multiplayer that lots of people love and enjoy, rather than half-arsing it and calling it a day and trying to, money grab. Back in the days of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, every time new items were added to the RNG packs, there was always a big surge in microtransaction purchases. Bioware points packages were always at the top of the popular downloads lists on Xbox and PlayStation at the time, and I can only assume PC sales were pretty substantial as well, because the revenue from Mass Effect 3 multiplayer allowed that game to have free DLC and support for about a year. And let's not pretend here that Bioware did this because the team just simply cared about the game, or Bioware just wanted to show goodwill towards their fans, and they're not doing the same with Andromeda. They did that because it's a calculated business decision to maximise immediate and future revenues. Remember, EA and Bioware are a business. It's a for-profit company that serves to please its investors and shareholders above everyone else. If investors aren't happy, then Bioware and EA aren't happy, and ultimately, if senior management and shareholders want a successful multiplayer because it's profitable, and developers want a successful multiplayer because they probably have a personal and emotional investment in it because they've worked on it for years, then who on earth at EA or Bioware are the people that don't care if multiplayer succeeds or not? It's such a ridiculous argument, and I don't really know where the logic behind it is, but as far as I'm concerned, logically speaking, it's not even an argument at all. It doesn't make any sense for EA or Bioware to try and cash grab, per se, because a multiplayer that's successful is beneficial to everyone involved. Anyway, many will counter this by saying, well, if they care about it, then why don't they ever tell us anything, or why aren't they on the forums talking to us about it, or why aren't they telling us what's going on, what's being worked on? And there's a few things which I found in just a few minutes of looking to the answer for that question, and I have also seen developers posting about this as well in past sort of tweets and Reddit posts. So there's a few things that I won't pretend to know about, and the big one there is legal stuff. There's obviously a big legal area as to why Bioware and EA can't give sort of patch release days or tell people what's coming out in, say, 2 months' time. I'm not sure. I don't know what the reasons are here, but time and time again it's been said by not just Bioware, multiple developers, that they, for legal reasons, if you're operating in a publicly traded company, you can't say these sorts of things ahead of time because of contracts, because of the potential it might have to influence the share price, I guess. I don't know. I won't pretend to know. I'll probably make way more money if I ever do know the answer to that question, but yeah, there's a legal reasoning behind some of these decisions of not communicating. The other reasons are actually because it's actually dangerous to promise content or give dates for fixes ahead of time as well. So, I mean, let's say in Andromeda's case, you promise that power damage is going to get buffed by 50% or whatever. and you say this weeks and weeks ahead of patch day. Everyone's happy and excited, and patch day comes around and it's not in there. And why is it not in there? Because increasing power damage inadvertently caused a game-breaking bug, which would have made the game unplayable, so it wasn't included. Now, I'm not saying this is the case or anything, I'm just giving an example. But what do you think the community response to that's going to be? They don't give a damn about that the cake's going to literally poison them until the next patch that fixes it comes out. They just want the fucking cake that they were promised. It's really quite as simple as that. It's not as straightforward as saying we want to do this, so therefore we're going to do this. I imagine there's an internal discussion about, we've seen the community feeding back on this, we want to implement this, but we can't tell the community what we're doing until it's done, because if there is complications down the line and we can't deliver on what we're saying we want to do, then it basically makes them look really stupid, and it leaves people with their dicks in their hands, and it's not a good thing to have, and it makes you look very unprofessional as well. As for community presence, they do stream on Twitch every week. I don't know if many people actually know this, but they do stream and talk about what their plans are, if there is anything to talk about there. If they talk about what they're looking at, sometimes it's a lot of hot air and they're not actually able to give anything concrete. But you see this with Bungie's this week at Bungie announcements they did in Destiny. Sometimes there's just nothing to say, but they still do it every week, and they answer questions from Twitch chat and things like that. Some developers have Twitter accounts that are more than happy to answer questions that they're actually able to answer, and there's the odd post on Reddit as well that I see from more than one developer. It's not just a single person, there's several people who post on Reddit, and I know they do lurk on Reddit and BSN and other Mass Effect forums. And the thing is, most community interaction, be that on Twitter or Reddit or any other forum, is done in free time. It's not done because they like being there, and they don't do it because they're being paid to be there either. They're doing it because they want to make a difference in the community. I imagine nobody has a good time being shouted at or screamed at by a bunch of gamers who have now got a face to this company that they're frustrated at. So the person in question probably doesn't even have anything to do with what the problem is, but they're the people who are being yelled at because they're brave enough to put a face, well, I say brave, maybe stupid enough to put a face to Bioware and to represent Bioware in that sort of capacity. There's actually a post by Brian Johnson, or Brojo, some of you might know him, on the Dragon Age Reddit forums, which sums up really well actually as to why communication between developer and player is in the place where it is. And I really do recommend reading it through, because it certainly gave me a bit of perspective on this topic as well. Now, I'm sort of giving a lot of leeway with Bioware, as you can probably tell, and I'm sure there's people aggressively typing out comments calling me a shill or whatever. But if we get a few patches down the line and it's obvious that the community complaints haven't been addressed or listened to, and that actually they've done a lot of nothing in that time, then I will absolutely be the first person to stand up and say, hey, you know, what's going on here? As I said, I'm not a loyalist to this company, and I won't be spending my own time and energy endorsing and creating content for a product that I feel is broken or is not going to be fixed. If there's no future, if I don't see any future in Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer, I just won't make content for it. There's no point. It's not worth my time and effort to do that. Now, that being said, I do think that Bioware has shown they are listening and taking in feedback from a lot of different social media platforms, so for now I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. For now, at least. I will stress, it's a for now thing. Get a few patches down the line, might change, who knows. Right, and I was going to talk about my thoughts on multiplayer at the moment and the sort of current state it's in, I guess, in terms of balance and what needs improving, what needs nerfing. Well, I don't think anything really needs nerfing other than perhaps some tweaks to weapons, but I think at this point I'm only going to be preaching to a choir there. We all know what the issues and problems are. Let's not pretend that they haven't been made clear, and I don't really think these need highlighting again. What I will suggest, though, is just play other games if you're getting burnt out on this game. Just do something else. Put down the game and come back to it another time when you actually want to play it. There's a reason that I went from uploading about once every couple of days at the start of the game to about once a week, and that's just because I don't want to burn myself out on this game. If I start churning out guides and content and not actually enjoying doing so, I really don't see the point. I don't make nearly enough money to do it for monetary reasons. And the quality of my content is going to be subpar as well. So if you're in the same position as I am and you're feeling that you sort of get burnt out by playing this game constantly, just play something else. I've been playing Battlegrounds, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, even some of the single player, and as a result I still really enjoy myself when I fire up Andromeda to do the daily Apex mission or just have a few games with friends, and I don't really ever feel like I'm grinding or doing it because I have to. I do it because I enjoy it. I actually enjoy doing these sorts of videos. I enjoy making guides. I enjoy exploring mechanics and things like that in multiplayer. I enjoy the game when I play it. I just don't play it as often as I thought I perhaps might. On that note, if there's any wishes to ever see any other games or cooking tutorials or whatever on my channel, then I wouldn't mind uploading that. At some point I will start doing it anyway, because Andromeda won't be around forever. It will get into the late stages of its cycle and people will move on to other games and there won't be as much interest in it, I guess, for this channel. So I will branch out at some point. But if you do want to add me on Origin and play some Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, I play Gold pretty much exclusively, so if you want to play some Gold games with me, my Origin ID is in the description, and no, I really don't care how good you are, as long as you're good company and willing to do objectives. That's, I guess, my only criteria is, per se. Anyway, it's getting on, it's over 10 minutes long now, so these are just some of my thoughts. I'm sorry if it's a bit rambly. Thanks for watching, or listening in this case, I suppose, and goodbye.